Iko Nini. So on Sunday nilibaki nimeona like a very interesting tweet from Edwin Sifuna. So Sifuna alikuwa ameandika, it's obvious the president's men know the gig is up and nothing can be done to change his fortunes in 2027. All that chest thumping from Sudi and Kamket are attempts to mask the fact that they have accepted his fate. There will never be another 2007 where the will of the people will be overturned. We in Azimio were sold similar stories in 2022. Ati sijui deep state will help, mara hatuwezi achia mwizi, but in the end, once Kenyans express themselves at the ballot, that's it. So vile nicheki message, ama hii tweet niko nashindwa sana maanisha nini, because of course tuko tushabonga juu ya Sudi na vile Sudi alibonga mbaya earlier this week akisema the way he wished that he was the interior minister. And unakumbuka the first time when all this like reshuffle was done, niliambiaga watu like the main thing that we were supposed to focus on was Kipchumba Murkomen being the interior CS. That was the main news. Hizo stories zingine za kina Mutahi Kagwe, wewe ushaifikiria juu ya Mutahi Kagwe after that day? No, you've never thought about that. But Kipchumba Murkomen being put there was the strategy ya 2027. Na sasa umsa naitwa Sudi, unachekige tukimuenjoy, sumuenjoy like his education level. Sometimes, of course, education means like inadetermine nothing about how sharp you are. But for this guy, he's one of those guys who are lucky that they ended up knowing the political class and then they ended up being rich. But being rich does not mean that you know what you're saying. And this ilikuwa clearly shown on what he now said on Sunday. Because on Sunday, walikuwa wameenda place fulani hapo and he ended up like revealing what the government thinks and what they are planning to do. And basically kile alibaki ameturevealia ni hawajali vile tutavote 2027. Hao wenyewe they've come up with their way and they are going to make sure that they get their way. But wacha tusikize kile Msa alisema.
Kwa sababu ile maneno iko mtandao siku hizi ukiona, halafu mtu mmoja watu wanasimama watu wachache hapo, rais anafanya hii, maneno abduction, maneno nini. Unajua rais pia umenikosea kidogo. Ile siku nyingine ulitangaza waziri, nilikuwa nafikiri unasema Kipchumba Sudi. Kumbe akakuwa Kipchumba Murkomen. Tena juzi nimesikia tena nilikuwa nategea ukasema tena Kipchumba Murkomen. Sasa wangenipatia hiyo docket hiyo ya usalama siku 3 peke yake. Hiyo watoto na ujinga hiyo ya kuchora vitu kwa maneno itaisha. Kwa sababu lazima tu hakuna inji inaongozwa na upuzi. Lazima inji yote inaongozwa na katiba na heshima.
So mesikio pata anasema hakuna inchi inaongozwa na upuzi. Kila inchi inaongozwa na katiba na heshima. And this is where it gets interesting because Africans have for a very long time believed that respect is something that comes naturally. No, respect is earned. And tukiangalia mse kama Ruto, lazima tuangalia that this was someone who was loved by half of the country in 2022 and hated by another half. But the half that loved him so much, and that his rallying call around your time ilikuwa si uchawi ni maombi. And that's the reason why hata kwa hii story ilikuwa the Kerio Valley interdenominational prayers. So kwa time ya prayers, they are talking about literally abductions and extrajudicial killings and extrajudicial ways to curb dissent. Now, hii kitu ni interesting because when you think about it, people are not angry at the president for no reason. They are angry because they can't see change, and they are angry because they are seeing some of the things that we thought we'd left in the Moi era coming back. Kibaki was criticized. Uhuru was criticized so much on social media that he ended up deactivating his account. Hakukuwa na hizi story. Hata abductions was na happen hiyo time. Kilikuwa na happen ni mse kama Alai alikuwa anashikwa alafu eventually he's released. Hii story ya Yala inakuwa very interesting because Yala, everyone assumes that Yala was political, but Yala kunakuwa na the other side. It was extrajudicial, but it was mostly jia wash. I think kuna nini fulani niliwatch. Sitaki quote the specific documentary, but there's something I watched about one of the people who went missing in Yala. Alikuwa involved in this car rackets and what. Akashikwa na makarao ikafanywa extrajudicially. So haikuwa political. Hii ya saa hizi ile ilikuwa like on Sunday best yangu alinitumia message akaniuliza, Buda, unafikiria Kibet Bull bado iko alive? Acheki. Kibet Bull was someone who drew. He did not do anything. Alichora tu. Na saa hizi si wenyewe hatujui kasha kachora. tujui kasha dedi. That's the time we're living in. Alafu kuna this arrogance that you're just complaining about nothing. No, we are complaining because these are freedoms that were guaranteed. We don't have to respect you. We don't have to love you. You are the president of the country. Just run the country. Love pata kutoka kwa watoto wako na familia yako. From the rest of us, we're just yapping. Now, we are not sure if someone who drew is alive or dead. And then mnakaa mnatuambia like in 2027 hakuna kitu yote tutafanya. Because wacha tuendelee na hii story. So umse aliendelea vile nimetoka kusema juu ya like educational level. Ameenda paki hint that 2027 haijalishi vile tutavote, Ruto will still get a second term. So hizi ndio vitu lazima ujiulize. Na uchiki like majuzi tukifanya the weekend update nilikuwa na kina the Rapture tukibonga juu hii story na kulikuwa na that argument between me na Rapture ile nikimwambia that removing this guy in 2027 won't be easy. And the reason why I keep saying that is the gap needs to be so big that rigging is impossible. Because I say haplan kuachilia hii kitu. Ukiona vile wanavunja sheria hapa, wanajua the next person. Unajua as soon as farm ya Uhuru ilikuwa invaded, it showed that a former president's farm can be invaded, and that opened a whole Pandora's box. So wacha tucheki kilomsa alisema ikikam to 2027.
Na mtu asikutisha rais. Unajua mimi naona ule mtu tulivuguze bado anaongea hapo. Mwingine anasema sijui nini hapo. Mai kuona inji yenye mtu anaenda tamu moja. Hakuna hiyo. Wataruka juu chini. Lakini mambo itakuwa sawa. Ya mwisho kabisa.
Mechekio, wataruka juu chini lakini mambo itakuwa sawa. Ushaona pale mtu ameenda one term. So this shows that the 2027 elections for these guys is just a formality. And if you want to see that this thing is going to be a formality, and they hope that by then either watakuwa to intimidate so much that will just take it ama affect voter turnout, because if all things stay constant, 2027 will have the highest voter turnout ever in Kenya. And the reason behind that is people are angry. I've never seen people this angry. And the more angry we are, the more you keep telling us that the abductions have to go on. The more you justify the abductions by saying something like the police are independent. The police are not independent. Nijua hii story ya kuambiwa ati nili make sure the budget of the police iko separate, the budget of the what. No, the police are not independent. The police still report to the presidency. The police are still under the executive. Na umse kitu moja of course alifanyaga bipoa kabisa ni anajuaga like the average Kenyan does not think about things critically. So that's why alikame out akaza history zake za ati amefanya makarawa kuna budget yao nini. So right now they can do the abductions and then he can pretend that hajui kwa nini these abductions ina happen. Alafu sasa tuko in a situation whereby ODM has to look itself in the mirror. And ODM for a very long time they've championed themselves as the party of constitutionalism. The people who hated them kabisa, but the people who loved them walikuwa wanachukuaga hata kama wana nini, they somehow believe in the constitution, they somehow believe in some of these things. Hii ndio kitu ilifanya Orengo alibaki ameandika a certain post, alafu I don't think alikuwa expect like the sort of replies zilalipata, because as things stand right now we are going back to the Kanu era. So Orengo aliandika, the insensitive, sadistic and callous poetry that is characterizing our political debate is extremely dangerous and ill-advised. This unrestrained vitriolic language has a tragic past. These doomsday choirs cannot succeed where the gifted orchestras of the old Kanu failed. So basically we're talking about the same things that Kanu did. Kanu ilikuwa inafanyanga abductions, Kanu ilikuwa inadidishaga wasee. But even Kanu in their last 10 years, they stopped doing this. Between 1992 and 2002, Kanu haikufanya as many crimes as the crimes they'd done before 1991. So now we are back to this. We are back to a time where we are afraid. Ileta mseka mimi kabla nifanye video na shindwa, ama hii video nitafanya ama fala nikujie. Acheki. Na the reason wanatukujia saa hizi, apart from Ruto, wanatukujia juu ya Raila, wanatukujia juu ya ODM. Cause mafala wa ODM saa hizi, akina Junet, wako hapo criticize gava, tutawagujia. Mimi sasa niweke kwa sanduku, falakana ni umse I want to go join the Gen Z Opiyo Wandayi. So as long as Ruto anajua yuko na ODM on his side, anajua anaweza do hii ujinga because he feels like he's controlling. Anajua as long as you have Raila happy, you can do a lot of nonsense. But in a situation where a Raila is not happy and half the country is not happy, it's not sustainable. So that's why nashinda nikisema as much as tuna blame Ruto for all this shit, we also have to look at ODM and be like, what the hell? What do you stand for? Mseka Sudi akisema elections azimata, nyi wenyewe mmekuwa mkisema from day one, mmekuwa mkituambia juu electoral justice. Now all this goes through the window. Why? Because you've been given a few dockets. Why don't you want the whole cake? Why don't you want the whole thing? Like, yes. Because right now people are so angry that people just want this guy gone. Because this guy is taking us back to the Kanu days. And this is scary. Like, we are seated, like, tuko worried. You can be, like, abducted. And then after you're abducted, no one knows if you're alive. Like, tukifikiria juu ya history ya Kibet. First of all, imetuonyesha tribe does not keep you safe. So don't support a oppressive regime just because it's from your tribe. Because the funny thing, you come to history ya Kibet na tuangalie story ya tribe. One of the reasons why a few people, and I'm going to put a few people, don't support Boniface Mwangi ni during time ya resistance against Kibaki and Kenyatta, ulikuwa unapataga every time Boni was arrested, he'd be produced in court. He was never harmed, he was never what. Mse kama Alai alikuwa na disappear more. But one of the things that Uhuru made clear was, under my leadership, my tribe is somehow safe. That's what Ali put. Ya Ruto imekam ni, under my leadership, anyone who criticizes me can, just disappear. And history ya Kibet, saa hizi tunashindwa, Kibet iko wapi? Kunasemekana kunafaa kuwa na protests on Monday, 6th of January 2025. Kibet iko wapi? If these people were to produce Kibet, I think people would not be as angry as we are. But right now hatujui Kibet iko wapi. So hatujui jo, lakini kile tunajua ni 2027 ase watatry all tricks in the book. And one of the tricks they are going to do is, umekuwa ukisikia ase umekuwa kibonga juu ya IDs. So they try the IDs trick. But the IDs trick right now is tricky because you don't know. Do you give ODM strongholds IDs? And do you trust that they are going to give you the votes? Because mbeleni it was so simple. If you had Central and you had Rift Valley, watafuta tu mafala wako na hizi majina za alafu you suppress votes basically all the other regions. But right now, in a situation whereby umechukua mse wa Coast, so you need wase wa Coast wakuwe na IDs. Umechukua wase wa Lake, so you need wase wa Lake wakuwe na IDs. So unaweza try to suppress the mountain, but will that be enough for you to keep power in 2027? So there is a trick vile nafikiria wase watatumia for 2027, lakini hatuwezi sema in the meantime. You know why? Because most probably they've not thought about it. So sisi wenyewe kuput that idea in their head might not be the right idea. But one thing that I know is these people are ready to hang on to power through hook and crook. And these abductions zitaendelea happen. And as these abductions happen, the most responsible party itakuwa ni ODM. Iko Nini.